Good morning. It is Tuesday, July the 30th, and this is The Drill. And thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today, because I'm the only one that makes the presumption for the status quo. My podcast is about demonstrating how to beat the left each and every day. My podcast is made possible by Spreaker.com. It can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. My email address is storytimes@hotmail.com. I'm on Twitter at Ronald Hardgrove and on Facebook at The Drill. So I started my socio-political odyssey as a conservative Republican, and I thought I was a conservative Republican because that's what the left told me. The left said that where you stand politically is where you stand on the issues. And so when I added everything up, it came up conservative Republican. But I realized after having arguments and debates with the left that I couldn't win, that the issues, and it being an issues-based conservative was a bad idea. That there is no way to win for a conservative that's going to be issues-based. That the only way to win as a conservative is to redefine the term conservative and to redefine it in a way that is realistic. And by becoming a true conservative, I will not only win, but I will never lose. And the purpose of my broadcast is to demonstrate how to defeat the left each and every day. So today on the broadcast, I'm going to I'm going to actually discuss and comment on a comment that I received on YouTube. And I'm going to make this a regular feature. I've gotten several comments on YouTube that I didn't even know about because I hadn't been checking, to be honest with you, checking to see what kind of comments that I've been receiving on YouTube. And so I'm going to be, shame on me for not doing that. I need to close the loop, so to speak. Make the broadcast, listen to my broadcast, listen and or read the comments, and go from there. So, but anyways, I'm going to read to you the comment. It's a short comment, and I'm going to analyze it and make comments or a reply about it. And then after that is going to be there's an interesting article in the Washington Times about Anne Hathaway. So all that when we come back. Thank you very much. Welcome back, and from YouTube and the comments. And this is from this comment that was made about an episode that I did approximately 3 weeks ago, and it's called Rush Limbaugh Gets Schooled. So this is a comment, and I guess it doesn't. Anyways, I'm not sure whether I want to include the name of the person, but let's just go ahead and do it. St. Clair. Anyways, it says, I like to take things with a grain of salt. Like a guy with one vote on a YouTube channel schooling the guy with the biggest radio show in the history of radio. So I want to preface my remarks by saying, I was kind of nervous about looking at the comments on my YouTube channel. Are they going to be positive? Are they going to be negative? And is there going to be a lot of abuse? Are people going to drop F-bombs and whatnot? And are they going to make a fool out of me? Are people going to say, well, Ron, you're stupid because you missed this, or you missed that, or you didn't see this, or you are wrong about X? And when I look at the comments, they're a lot like this one, the other comments. And I'll deal with every day I'm going to deal with a separate comment. So they're a lot like this one. They're completely and utterly arbitrary. This is a comment that makes no point, none. And part of the reason that he ends up being ineffective, it's rhetorically ineffective. That's the best way to put it. The norm for rhetoric is effectiveness. You can be rhetorically effective, you can be rhetorically ineffective. And part of the reason that he's being rhetorically ineffective is he makes the mistake that the left teaches us to make each and every day, and that is using verbal picture painting instead of conceptualizing and abstracting. In this particular case, he says, I like to take things with a grain of salt. Little sayings like that are verbal picture painting. Another one is, I'm in over my head. They're going to hang me out to dry. Those are verbal picture painting. It creates an image in your mind. And it's great if what your purpose is to try to make something vivid, a little bit more vivid. And it's not a bad idea, I suppose, if you're writing a novel, right? But if you're trying to communicate or critique somebody, you want to stay away from those kinds of things because they're inaccurate. They're vivid, but there's no accuracy to them. There's nothing to them. I mean, what do you mean by I take things with a grain of salt? No answer. He doesn't explain that, what he means by that. And then it says, like a guy with one vote on a YouTube channel schooling the guy with the biggest radio show in the history of radio. So who's the guy with one vote? Is that supposed to be me? And if it is me, why doesn't he come out and say, and I assume it's a he, I don't know, it could be a she, but why not come out and say, you, or use my name? I'm not shy about putting my name on my YouTube channel. I'm not doing it incognito or something of that nature. So, again, be specific about it. Also, the statement fails to actually make a value statement. It's like I've said before, you cannot communicate successfully, effectively, without making a value statement. That means you have to judge. And in this particular case, am I right or am I wrong in where I'm schooling Rush Limbaugh? And if I'm right, do you see anything else to add to what it is that I said? If I'm wrong, why am I wrong? What should I have said? And why? That's what I do with Rush Limbaugh and other people that I criticize. I say where they're wrong, why they're wrong, what they should have said, and why they should have said it. So, again, if you're not going to come out and make the value judgment, then you fail to communicate. And your statement becomes vague and arbitrary. And so my reply to St. Clair was equally arbitrary. 2 words, you're right. And that's the standard reply that I'm going to make for anybody and everybody that makes comments that are arbitrary in nature. So now I want to go ahead and go to the Washington Times article about Anne Hathaway. And I want to read the headline here. Anne Hathaway, Oscar winner, opens up about fertility struggles. And this is a typical left-wing cultural situation that nobody really realizes. You know, you hear about celebrities that open up about this or open up about that, usually about being gay, right, or lesbian. So-and-so opens up about being gay or lesbian, or they open up about their drug abuse or about maybe spousal abuse. In this case, it's about infertility. Let me read a little bit of this. Anne Hathaway, who announced this week she was expecting her second child, says she came forward about her struggles with getting pregnant because infertility can be deeply isolating. Quote, I think we have a very one-size-fits-all approach to getting pregnant, unquote, Hathaway told the Associated Press on Saturday. Quote, and you get pregnant, and for the majority of cases, this is a really happy time. But a lot of people who are trying to get pregnant, that's not really the story, or that's one part of the story. And the steps that lead up to that part of the story are really painful and very isolating and full of self-doubt. And I went through that, unquote. This 36-year-old Oscar winner revealed on Instagram this week that she and husband Adam Schulman, an actor and jewelry designer, are expecting another child. The two have a 3-year-old son, Jonathan. Hathaway posted a picture of her pregnant self with the caption, "It's not for a movie," quote unquote. Then went on to say that she's sending extra love to anyone with fertility issues because she's experienced it too with both pregnancies. So, what she's doing here and has been encouraged to do by the left, and since she's a lefty, I'm sure that this, it just kind of fits right in, but she is giving up her privacy. And it's kind of interesting because there's a dualism here where celebrities complain about not having privacy. pictures being taken of them, etc., but will turn around and give up their privacy on an issue like this. And I imagine that the reason that she did it is somebody told her, somebody whispered in her ear and said, you can make a difference. If you come out and talk about your infertility problems, you might be able to help another person with infertility problems. And if you help even one person, it's worth it to give up your privacy. And I say, no. First of all, who asked you? This is, again, a typical activist ploy. Activists don't look to get permission. They have no respect for other people. They see something and they decide on their own that something needs to be done about this thing. And so they act. They do so in court. It's called sua sponte. They do it on their own. They do it without being asked to. Who asked Anne Hathaway, me or anyone else is reading this article, who asked her about her fertility? Nobody. We don't care. It doesn't matter. What she's doing is helping to erode property rights. Because I say that axiomatically, that the reason we have property and property rights is because we as human beings have an inherent expectation of privacy. And the left wants to undermine that, wants to subvert the expectation of privacy in each individual. Because she's not only setting an example in terms of her fertility, but she's setting an example in terms of giving up her privacy. Now, the way the left sells this is by saying, well, you're making a sacrifice. You're helping somebody else. You're not just giving up your privacy. You might be helping somebody else. And you might get that as well. If you're a conservative, you might have a friend or family member, somebody, if you're going through something difficult, cancer. That's another area where you'll get the celebrities that will come out and say, I want to let people know that I'm going through cancer. Why? Because maybe if I can help even one other person, not definitely going to help, but if I can help. And if I'm going to give up my privacy, I'm not going to do it on an if. And I don't need to do it anyways. If there's people, somebody else that is suffering because of infertility or cancer or anything else, addiction, whatnot, then I want to deal with that person one-on-one. That's the conservative way to do it. You go and find these people in your life. Somebody writes you a letter maybe, or sends you an email and says, guess what, I'm having fertility problems, or I'm going through cancer, or whatever. And you can then talk with that person one-on-one and in private. Well, you know what? I went through cancer problems too. I sympathize. I know what it's like. I've been there. That's the right way to do things for all human beings. It's the normal way to do. You don't have to give up your privacy in order to help other people. So I'll be back in a minute. Thank you very much. And who are the true conservatives? They are the people that understand that conservatism is not just a political but cultural as well. They are a patriotic people who use common sense. They make judgments instead of predictions, or also known as, instead of making predictions, I'll get back to that in a minute. Speak clearly and definitively and are not afraid to say no. They are open-minded, asking why rather than why not. Asking why not indicates you're closed-minded, which is interesting because the left always wants to know whether or not you're open-minded, right? The left will ask you. People on the left will come to you and say, are you open-minded? And the best answer to that question is why? By asking that question, you demonstrate that you are open-minded. It is the people who ask why not that are closed-minded, because the question why not is designed to steer you in a particular direction, steer you to a particular Conclusion. They are consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of their existence, unafraid to learn or correct their mistakes. They are normal Americans. So I want to get back to the making judgments instead of predictions. I should say they make judgments instead of speculating. That's probably the best, a smoother way of putting it. Because that's what the left does and encourages people to do. Speculate. Now, usually they say it in terms of making a prediction. What do you predict is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think that this person will do or say? Who do you think is going to win the election? And what they're asking you to do is just speculate, 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 speculate. And the proper way to handle that is to say, I refuse to speculate. There was the defense secretary in the Reagan administration, Caspar Weinberger, was very good at this. The news media was constantly tempting him to engage in speculation, and he refused. And he would say flat out, I refuse to speculate. So that brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill, and until next time, thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.